Welcome to Community Church Unitarian Universalist worship service, which we gather each week beyond our four walls nowadays in these unique times. I'm Reverend Jacqueline Luck, as many of you know, CCUU member and worship associate. Our ministers will be back. Our minister, Darcy Roque, will be back in the pulpit September the 13th, I believe. Today, Cynthia Ramirez will be offering the sermon, Born Again, and she sent me a bio that I'm going to read off my phone this morning. Cynthia is a multimedia artist who has exhibited her work in numerous local, national, and international exhibitions. She received a BFA in painting and printmaking from Virginia Commonwealth University, 1986. And an MFA in painting and printing from the University of New Orleans, 1990. She's a professor of fine art at Southern University at New Orleans and taught in various children's art programs throughout New Orleans. She has created a Day of the Dead altar at the Louisiana State Museum, Cabildo, U.S. Mint, the Ogden Museum of Art, and the Jazz and Heritage Festival in New Orleans, Louisiana. She has served as a panelist for the Visual Arts Fellowship for the Louisiana Endowment for the Arts and the National Endowment of the Arts Visual Art Grant Panel for Art Education. She is a founding member of the Second Story Gallery Artists Co-op at the New Orleans Healing Center. She has been the Religious Education Director at our congregation, CCUU, from 2006 until now. Community Church Unitarian Universalist is a progressive, open-minded, and inclusive religious community. All who are on a spiritual search for truth and meaning are welcome here. Ours is a faith in action as we do the work of justice and elevate compassion in our quest to live ethically in recognition of the inherent worth and dignity of all. We believe it is not necessary to think alike, to love alike. We are very glad you're here to welcome us, to join us in this service. We welcome you. It's so nice to see everybody's face once a week. I'm so glad you're there. This morning, I have no announcements. Other than there is online an opportunity to sign up for meals to take to Bennett and Carol. If you'll check your announcements from the church, you'll see a link to that. And that would be really helpful. Alicia has our introit this morning?
That will be Susie, actually.
Oh.
Hallelujah, sing songs that give us birth. Hallelujah, resounds are on the earth. Hallelujah, shall echo across the skies. Hallelujah, when peace has shown us rise. Amen.
It's Community Church's custom to light a chalice invoking hope and eternal truths to our worship. Please join me in reading the words in the chat box together. We light this flame by member Bert Brunson. We light this flame to affirm the light of truth and knowledge, the warmth of love and community, and the fire of hope and commitment. This morning, Cynthia is doing really double duty in that she's also bringing us the words for all ages. And her story this morning is The Trouble with Tribbles.
Good morning, everybody. I'm glad you're coming on the voyage with me this morning. And we're going to start with Trouble with the Tribbles. Captain's Log, 4523.3. Captain Kirk and the crew of the USS Enterprise have received an urgent call from Deep Space Station K7. Could it be a Klingon ship? Upon arrival, Kirk and Mr. Spock learned their true mission from an assistant named Darwin. They must protect a shipment of high-yield grain. The greedy Klingons will probably try to steal it for themselves. While 2 guards keep the grain secure, the rest of the crew explores the station. Lieutenant Uhura meets a trader who sells furry little creatures called Tribbles. The salesman gives Uhura a Tribble as a gift. Uhura loves her new furry pet. Uhura returns to the Enterprise with her hungry Tribble. The next morning, she is shocked to discover that she has a bunch of new Tribbles. Suddenly, a Klingon battlecruiser arrives at the space station. This could mean trouble. The Klingons are allowed to board the space station, but can they be trusted? Not even furry little Tribbles like Klingons. Although the Klingons say they come in peace, a fight breaks out. No one insults the Enterprise in front of Scotty. Meanwhile, back on the Enterprise, the bridge is covered in Tribbles. The Tribbles got into the air vents, and all over the ship, even in the mess hall. They're eating everything in sight. If the Tribbles were able to find their way into the air vents aboard the Enterprise, they must be doing the same on the space station. Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock beam back aboard the space station. And their fears are confirmed. The Tribbles have eaten all the grain. Mr. Spock notices that some of the Tribbles are sick. Someone must have poisoned the grain. With a little help of Dr. McCoy and a couple of Tribbles, Kirk discovers that Darwin is a Klingon spy in disguise. Darwin was the one who poisoned the grain. With their spy revealed, the Klingons quickly leave the space station. The crew returns to the Enterprise, but all the Tribbles are gone. Where did all the Tribbles go? It turns out that Scotty transported the furry creatures to the Klingon ship, where there will be no Tribble at all. The end.
Thank you. And Alan has a reading this morning from Stephen Hawkins, The Grand Design.
We exist for but a short time, and in that time explore but a small part of the whole universe. But humans are a curious species. We wonder, we seek answers. Living in this vast world, this is by turns kind and cruel, and gazing at the immense heavens above, people have always asked a multitude of questions. How does the universe behave? What is the nature of reality? Where does all of this come from? Did the universe have to have a creator? Most of us do not spend most of our time worrying about these questions, but almost all of us worry about them some of the time.
Thank you, Alan. Joys and sorrows within this congregation are recognized in this virtual service. I invite you to write your public messages in the chat box to be read after the hymn. Alicia has the hymn for the day.
So once again, I'm going to invite everyone to sing along at home with the words which will be displayed.
Alicia, something seems to be the matter. We're not getting any music.
Yeah, I don't hear anything either.
We see the verses, but we can't hear anything.
I'll be glad when we get back to normal. Oh my.
Hey, listen, I'm live right now. I'm unmuted because I'm the worship associate. So just give me a minute here. Okay.
I'm sorry, was that not audible?
No.
No, we
Oh.
couldn't hear it. We
Okay.
could see the words, but couldn't hear it.
Okay, so I'm on a new computer, and perhaps that has something to do with it. So sorry about that. We will troubleshoot for next time, I suppose.
Okay. Let's see. This morning, of the chats that we have, so nice to see some here that are uplifting. Al Malone says our great nephew Nate Lindquist got married online yesterday to a beautiful young lady with almost perfect teeth. You're bad.
Almost what?
Perfect teeth.
Almost perfect teeth, he said. Julie Bong says, no, she can hear everything. Howard Milkey, I am joyed by the inspiration of John Lewis and his good trouble. Looking for good or even better trouble is a goal worth pursuing. Yes. That seems to be all that we have of the joys and sorrows. And as you know, we hold, I have my candle here, all of you in our prayers and in communion as we are with each other, proven by the fact that we join each other on a computer screen just to see each other's faces and hear from each other. Deep love is involved in this community, and those of you who are troubled or suffering or having difficulty even just with staying at home, depression, blues over the whole situation of the world, all I can say is we're all in this together and we care about each other. And so the candle will continue to burn throughout the service. Alicia has a hymn for the day.
I've got that. Do you?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the offering. Yeah. I also should have reminded you that if you need to talk to the caring committee, they'll be happy to hear from you, and they will also contact a UU minister, other than me, actually, for you, people that Darcy has arranged to help out during this time. And their address is caring@ccuunola.org. Community Church Unitarian Universalist is a self-sustaining congregation. Your generosity enables this congregation to fulfill its mission within and beyond the church walls. I don't know. I haven't been to a board meeting. I don't know, but I can only think that it's a little bit difficult right now. Not knowing how many people remember to send their pledges in during this time, and it's different than just dropping it in the offering. So there will be posted the ways that you can keep up with your offering for this season, and I'm sure that everyone at the church will appreciate it. We do have salaries, and we don't want to be limited to just that. We have a mission to fulfill in this world. Now we have an offering hymn. It's a video soprano Star Trek theme.
She wants to warm up, and we thought we'd go along with it, so here it is.
Cynthia has our training this morning.
Well, thank you.
Wait a minute. Cynthia?
I think it's my turn, right?
I'm sorry. Yes, Sally.
Okay, well, that's a hard act to follow. That was awesome. The only person that could follow that up is William Shatner himself, who is Cynthia's boyfriend, if y'all did not know that. Anyway, this is from his, I guess it's a book, Live Long and What I Learned Along the Way. What I do believe, based on the little that I know, is that all of us are made of the same elements that comprise the universe. We are all one thing. When I stand outside and consider the vastness of the sky and feel my spirit and my soul, my electrical being going out into the universe, that becomes clear to me. When we disappear, we become stardust. And stardust is what coagulates and forms the stars. And that has been going on for billions of years. It is a continuous flux of energy into matter and back into energy, and we are part of it. That stardust is us. We are all part of the same thing. Our differences, whether it is our DNA or our chosen religion, are far more alike than they are dissimilar. There was something magical going on. Wise men have felt this for almost the entire history of mankind and been trying to put it into words. And those words eventually evolved into the body of wonder we call religion. While at the same time, other great men have been probing and testing and speculating. And the body of knowledge they amassed is science.
Thank you, Sally Burris. It was a beautiful reading. Cynthia now has our sermon.
And before the sermon, a brief introduction.
Space. Literally, it means nothing. A vacuum between stars and planets. But by the same token, it means everything. It's what connects all our worlds. Centuries ago, mankind sent its first wave of explorers into that void. They paved the way for the first colonies, the first starships. For those of us who made space our home.
Let's see what's out there. Engage. We're out here to explore. To make contact with other life forms. Establish peaceful relations, but not to interfere. And absolutely not to destroy.
And that is why I am here. Not to conquer you with weapons or with ideas, but to coexist and learn.
Dr. McCoy is right in pointing out the enormous danger potential. But I must point out that the potential for knowledge and advancement is equally great.
It is the unknown that defines our existence. We are constantly searching, not just for answers to our questions, but for new questions.
Mr. Parents, set a course.
Maximum goal.
Let's launch it.
When I think about everything we've been through together, maybe it's not the destination that matters. Maybe it's the journey. If that journey takes a little longer, so we can do something we all believe in, I can't think of any place I'd rather be, or any people I'd rather be with.
When I first took command of this post, all I wanted was to do something else. But now, 5 years later, this has become my home, and you have become my family.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. Come on, go ahead and sign off.
This is work.
Melissa, the women say this is just the video that she's got playing.
Somebody's something heart down the aisle.
I know.
That's all I can hear.
I know. Just hang on a minute. Cynthia, stop talking.
I know you. There was a time you looked at the stars and dreamed of what might be. Very deep within you, beneath all the years of pain and anger, there is something that has never been nurtured. The potential to make yourself a better man. And that is what it is to be human. To make yourself more than you are.
This is the final cruise under my command. This ship and her history will shortly become the care of another crew. They will continue the voyages we have begun and journey to all undiscovered countries, boldly going where no one has gone before.
Grammarly does more than catch errors. With Grammarly, you can find really good, no, perfect words that
Just a moment, everyone. There's a little bit of a technical snafu, but we'll have this going in no time.
Stardate 12008.02. I am a born again Trekkie. This revelation came to me in 2018 as a result of my need to escape this world that had 02. I am a born again Trekkie. This revelation came to me in 2018 as a result of my need to escape this world that had tact, integrity, logic, science, and compassion. I left this planet and went where no one has gone before. I lost myself for my childhood favorite, the original Star Trek. As children in the early 70s, my brother and sisters and I loved the sci-fi show. It took us places we never knew existed. Imagination was endless. My brother made an ordinary sweatshirt into a shirt with the 3 interlocking chains that James T. Kirk, the legendary captain of the USS Enterprise, Commander Spock, science officer, and Dr. Leonard McCoy, ship's doctor, wore in the episode Bread and Circuses, where they were enslaved and forced to fight as gladiators. Me, I made all the models like the Enterprise, Phaser, and Communicator. I just loved all the visuals of the show. Wild space creatures, strange looking humanoids. I was hypnotized by the shots of vast space with stars and all the natural phenomena was out there. Because of this early introduction to these astronomical images, it has influenced my artwork throughout my life. I watched all the Star Trek original series, episodes, and movies. I loved them all. These movies added to the stories of the characters on the USS Enterprise, which was interrupted by an early cancellation of the show. People wanted more, and so did I. I couldn't watch the first Next Generation movie because, of course, Captain Kirk was killed. I just couldn't get myself to see that ending. I recently saw the movie, and my first instinct was right. I was so upset. Now, all I can think about is that James T. Kirk is buried all alone on a barren planet. I know there's metaphor here. Captain Kirk was a loner and never really had a lasting relationship. His son died, and all he had was his ship and his relationship with Spock. It is fitting that he rests alone. It is amazing, however, that Captain Kirk destroyed the Enterprise, his beloved ship, for Spock. Fascinating. Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, had stated that the relationship between Spock and Kirk was based on the Greek model of Alexander and Hephaestus, focusing on the closeness of the friendship, the feeling that they would die for one another. And Spock, being Vulcan, thought of Kirk as his Hyla, a Vulcan word that can mean friend, brother, or lover. Now, there was a time when I forgot all about Star Trek. It was a time when I went off to college for undergraduate and graduate school. I was too busy to watch the many Star Trek series that came out in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And the fact, of course, my roommates and I did not have a TV. Deep down, I was hiding my nerdiness, trying not to be found out. When I found the series again, I became obsessed and watched the episodes many times. Experiencing these stories as an adult was eye-opening. I didn't realize how groundbreaking it was. Black holes, advanced technology, time warp wormholes, the first network biracial kiss, a Black woman serving as an officer, etc. All these things were fascinating. Dr. Martin Luther King, a fan of Star Trek, convinced Nichelle Nichols to stay in her role as Nyota Uhura, the communications officer, after she said she was leaving the show. He said, "You can't do that. Don't you understand, for the first time, we are seen as we should be seen. You don't have a Black role. You have an equal role." So she stayed for the duration of the show. For me, it was the character interaction and great stories between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, or Bones. I heard somewhere their personalities collectively create the perfect man. Wow, can you imagine? Guys, can you imagine trying to live up to those standards? For many years, I resisted watching the other 4 Star Trek programs, Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, and Enterprise. I didn't think they could live up to the standards of the original series. I was convinced to watch these shows by diehards of the franchise. Reluctantly, I watched. Next Generation was true to the original because, of course, Gene Roddenberry, the originator of Star Trek, or as we Trekkies call him, the great bird of the galaxy, was still in charge of the writing and production. I really was surprised that I liked the show. I mean, Captain Jean-Luc Picard, need I say more? I found the rest of the series very interesting and just as forward-thinking as the original. Voyager, which introduced the first woman captain on the bridge and a true scientist, and Deep Space Nine, which introduced the first Black captain and introduced the complex spiritual component, which would have driven the humanist Roddenberry crazy, who died before the creation of the series. I don't Enterprise, which was set 100 years before Kirk's Enterprise, was as successful because it was missing the close relationships that characters in the previous Star Treks had. Now, that's just my opinion. The criteria set for Star Trek, which is set in the 23rd century, was based on a utopian society created by Roddenberry. A world without greed, no use for money, no personal conflict, no famine or war, and everybody lives together peacefully, and of course, the need for human beings to explore. Advanced and innovative technology inspired future innovators to create the technology of their childhood series. In the 23rd century, humanity had reached enlightenment. This utopian world was created in the mind of Roddenberry, a devout humanist, who in 1991 received the American Humanist Association's Humanist Arts Awards in recognition of his distinguished contributions to humanism and humanist thought. I think that is why I'm also driven to the message of the show. As an artist, I view the world in my own unique way. I see it in signs and symbols, and I make connections in unconnectable ways. An art critic once referred to me as a symbolist. I was a little mystified by this classification, and I wasn't sure if I fit that label because I equate the symbolists with artists like William Blake, an artist whose visions were inspired by his Christian faith. Well, I thought about it and I realized my art making is very much tied to my religious faith. The signs and symbols I reveal in my artwork all tie to my beliefs: compassion, curiosity, ethics, beauty, and wonder. When I'm working on my art, I enter into a contemplative state. As I watched my beloved show, I noticed an artifact in Captain Kirk's quarters. It was a Mayan sculpture. I wondered what it was doing there and when and where did he get it? What was Roddenberry trying to say to me? This discovery led me on a quest to narrate Captain Kirk's how he acquired the sculpture. My previous artwork dealt with the Aztec Mayan cosmos, and it seemed to be connected. The cosmic G is a sacred motif used in the Mayan and Aztec art, and is a symbol of the Milky Way. I wrote a new episode that narrated this journey and adventure, and I created an exhibition that illustrated this episode. Here is that narrative. It's called Cosmic G. Stardate 5929.6. As a result of a time breach by a rogue conspirator, Iron Trump IV, the course of history in 2016 was altered. The United Federation of Planets assigned the mission to the USS Enterprise Captain James T. Kirk and his crew. The need to go against the temporal prime directive was imperative. And in 2016 Earth time, the attack on science, logic, factual information would be detrimental in the technological advancements in the future. So the Federation needed to store the advanced knowledge with an ancient culture that understood it. They were to be the guardians of this knowledge of the future. After much detailed research, it was determined the great Mayan civilization would be the keepers. The science officers knew the Maya had the intellectual fortitude. Their advanced knowledge of astronomy, time, and mathematics made them obvious choice. When the USS Enterprise beamed down to the surface of the Mayan civilization, they were just as astonished as the first Spanish troops upon seeing the technical advancements of this great culture. The Maya had developed the concept of zero. The zero, or the G, is also the sacred symbol of the Milky Way. From nothing is all. The Mayan believed that when you die, your essence or particles flew back into the heavens and returned to its origin, the Milky Way. Captain Kirk and his crew left with the Mayan 13 crystal skulls. These skulls hold all the knowledge humans need to propel them back to the correct timeline. However, this knowledge needed to be hidden until humankind had the intellectual capacity to understand that information. So the Maya set the 13 crystal skulls out to different parts of the Mayan world until the time was right for the skulls to come back together to bestow the knowledge that is held inside of them. So far, 7 of the 13 skulls have been found. The skulls not only store that great knowledge, but mainly consist of dilithium crystals, which is the element needed to develop warp power. Also needed is an ion-powered ship. An ion-powered vehicle was developed at MIT in 2018. According to Roddenberry, warp power will be invented in the 21st century. These 2 inventions propel the Space Force ships of the future. Kirk was given a sculpture of the god of peace from a Mayan shaman during his time travel. The Maya highly revered the captain as a great leader. The sculpture sits prominently in his quarters behind the captain at his desk, and it also has the cosmic G proudly displayed in its headdress. As you can see, I'm obsessed. Star Trek has given me a haven to escape, but most importantly, it recharged my personal beliefs of compassion, curiosity, ethics, beauty, and wonder. My creativity was sparked like the ion-powered engines of the spaceship Enterprise on Warp 10. The episode continues with my next exhibition. In 2018, when I left this world for the Star Trek universe, I did not know where this world would be in 2020. I was fearful of the future. Boy, was I right. Now I just watch and look at the signs and symbols to guide me. For instance, the emblem of the United Federation of Planets is very similar to the emblem of the American Atheist Association, and most recently, Trump's Space Force. I love the fact that this evangelical-driven president is using an emblem of the American Atheist Associations for one of his agencies. I am born again, Trekkie it is. Roddenberry said in one of his mentions, what Star Trek proves is that the much maligned common man and common woman are ready for the 23rd century now, and they are light years away from their petty government and their visionless leaders. Over 50 years of storytelling from the outreaches of space, Roddenberry's Star Trek is the longest running television movie franchise. Today, there are 3 new series that you can seek, continuing the legacy of this groundbreaking series. All of the series can be viewed and streamed. I encourage you to view them all. Last year, my wonderful RE parents and children gave me Star Trek gifts because I guess they saw the born again Trekkieism in me, I guess. They gave me, a coffee cup, excuse me. It says, what I learned from Star Trek. This was the catalyst for this sermon. So, in the tradition of the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalists, I developed the 9 principles of Star Trek. Number 1, go boldly. This addresses humanity's need to search for new things, individual truth, and the wonders of the universe. Take the leap boldly into all that life has unfolded for us. Don't let fear control you. Number 2, hail on all frequencies. Communication is essential. We need to know who is out there. We wish to make contact, search and embrace what is different, learn from new ideas from different cultures. Number 3, be logical. Spock lived his life driven by logic. With his example, we need to embrace science and free thought. Research, know where your sources are coming from. Don't be led by emotion. Don't be distracted by alternative facts. Number 4, resistance is not futile. This, of course, is a reference to the Borg, who are humans who have been assimilated into the collective by being fitted with mechanical and computer body parts. Individuality is non-existent. Once the Borg has you, resistance is futile. They are too powerful. To human beings, resistance is power, and it brings about change. We need to feel a sense of hope. Resistance is needed for a society to grow. Many resistance movements in the past, the Civil War, civil rights, suffragettes, etc., brought great change. And the resistant movement that is happening now with the Black Lives Matter movement will bring change. I encourage resistance, and it is not futile. Even the great Jean-Luc Picard, captain of the Enterprise, and 7 of 9 of Voyager were assimilated by the Borg, but they were able to escape and resist. Guess I'm at 5. Make it so. Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise D and E will direct his crew to make it so. In other words, get the job done in any way possible. This is a great motivational statement. Make it so. It is direct. You can do anything you set your mind to. If you think it, it will be done. Send your thoughts out to the universe. Hail on all frequency. Someone will hear it. Number 6, give her all she's got. Captain Kirk yells to Scotty, the chief engineer, give her all she's got. And Scotty, the most badass red shirt there is, yells back to the captain, I'm giving her all she's got, Captain. And Captain Kirk yells, I need more. And Scotty finds power from somewhere and pulls them out of sure disaster. The lesson we get from this, if you really want something, find the power within. And when you think you have nothing else left to give, you have that last power reserved. And then you realize that you have the power to carry you on. I guess I'm at 7. Set your phasers on stun. This is one of my favorite sayings. Today, people are quick to use lethal force quite easily. In the Star Trek universe, the crew is trained not to use their weapons at full strength at first contact. Phaser set to kill was used as a last resort. On stun, you get their attention and mean no harm. In today's volatile world, we need to follow this example more often than not. I guess I'm at, oh, I forgot where I was. Anyways, there are, eight. Number 8, there are 4 lights. Based on the episodes of The Next Generation Chain of Command, where the Captain Jean-Luc Picard is tortured and brainwashed to see something that is not really there. There are 5 lights instead of 4. He resists. And as he is being rescued, he screams defiantly, "There are 4 lights." The lesson here is not to be easily led. Believe what you actually see. There is no such thing as alternative facts. Number 9, live long and prosper. This saying, of course, the hand salute, is the most well-known phrase of the Star Trek series. Leonard McCoy, the actor who portrayed Commander Spock, a Vulcan, created the Vulcan salute for the episode Amok Time. This was the first time we saw the Vulcan world in a secret ceremony. Nimoy felt that the Vulcan people would greet each other with some sort of gesture. The Vulcan salute was inspired by Nimoy's Jewish background. It was from a childhood memory when the actor was attending a Jewish prayer ceremony. The young McCoy noticed the reference in a certain way. These hand gestures represent the Hebrew letter Shin, which is a representative letter of the word Shaddai, a term for God. It is also the first letter of Shalom, the Jewish word for hello, goodbye, and peace. So, I leave you with this. Hello, goodbye, and peace. Just kidding. Live long and prosper. Stardate, 12.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. We're glad you joined us at this time in our worship service and Worth Giving, and hope that something spoke to you. Cynthia gave us many opportunities to be spoken to. Stay connected, because in 10 minutes, we'll have our virtual coffee hour led by our member and past president, Dion DeVille.
Mm-hmm. Dion DeVille is not here this week, and she asked me to do it.
Oh,
so I'll be hosting the coffee talk.
Wonderful. Okay, in just a few minutes, Sally Jackson will host our coffee hour.